ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 31, The Movement of the Living Entities. So, we are at text 32 today. So, wish a very happy Independence Day to everyone. So, today is 15th August. And
Thank you, Prabhuji. Same to you.
yeah, real independence, we have to realize what is the real independence is. And the real independence is to declare our dependence on the Supreme Lord. So when I used to hear this, I have heard this for last 30 years, but it took me really long time to understand. I used to think, okay, to become dependent on the Supreme Lord means to do nothing. Okay, but not, it is not like that, because we cannot do anything. We cannot do nothing. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtanti akarmakrit. So when we deeply studied Bhagavad Gita, then we got this clarification that we have to act according to our swabhava, psychophysical nature. But while doing all these things, we have to be completely dependent on the Supreme Lord. And the ideal example is Arjuna, who is fighting the battle of Kurukshetra. So today we begin with text 32. Yadya siddhi punah शिष्णोदर कृत उद्यमैः आस्थितो रमते जन्तुः तमो विशति पूर्ववतः. Translation.
If therefore the living entity again associates with the path of unrighteousness, influenced by sensually minded people engaged in the pursuit of sensual enjoyment and the gratification of the palate, he again goes to hell as before. Purport. It has been explained that the conditioned soul is put into the Andha Tamishra and Tamishra hellish conditions, and after suffering there, he gets a hellish body like the dogs or hogs. After several such births, he again comes into the form of a human being. How the human being is born is also described by Kapila Deva. The human being develops in the mother's abdomen and suffers there and comes out again. After all these sufferings, if he gets another chance in a human body and wastes his valuable time in the association of persons who are concerned with sensual life and palatable dishes, then naturally he again glides down to the same Andha Tamishra and Tamishra hells. Generally, people are concerned with the satisfaction of the tongue and the satisfaction of their genitals. That is material life. Material life means eat, drink, be merry, and enjoy with no concern for understanding one's spiritual identity and the process of spiritual advancement. Since materialistic people are concerned with the tongue, belly, and genitals, if anyone wants to advance in spiritual life, he must be very careful about associating with such people. To associate with such materialistic men is to commit purposeful suicide in the human form of life. It is said, therefore, that an intelligent man should give up such undesirable association and should always mix with saintly persons. When he is in association with saintly persons, all his doubts about the spiritual expansion of life are eradicated, and he makes tangible progress on the path of spiritual understanding. It is also sometimes found that people are very much addicted to a particular type of religious faith. Hindus, Muslims, and Christians are faithful in their particular type of religion, and they go to the church, temple, or mosque. But unfortunately, they cannot give up the association of persons who are too much addicted to sensual life and satisfaction of the palate. Here it is clearly said that one may officially be a very religious man, but if he associates with such persons, then he is sure to slide down to the darkest region of hell. Hare Krishna.
Next, Kapila Muni explains, the living entity again, if associates with the path of unrighteousness, especially propelled by Shishnodara Krutodhyamaihi. These are the the words, typical words used here, for the pursuit of the sensual enjoyment and the gratification of the palate, he again goes to hell as before. So it's very clear by Kapila Muni. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that we have just seen the process of evolution from process of, first thing is the sufferings at the hellish planets like Tamishra and Annatamishra, and how the living entity goes there because of his own karma in the human life and suffers there, gets the suitable body based on the kind of mentality he had developed at the end of his human form of life. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. He's trained in that and he will come back to the earth planet or the Bhumandala, and we'll have some suitable life like cats or dogs or hogs. And again, he is put in the process of this evolutionary transmigration. And then slowly again he will attain the human form of life. And this is where those prayers began. Janturuvacha, the human soul begins to pray, right? And if again attaining the human form of life, if he commits the same mistake, and then again he's supposed to glide down to the Tamishra and the Tamishra, and this goes on continually, and this is called as samsmriti or samsara, cycle of repeated birth and death. So Srila Prabhupada specifically points out people are concerned with satisfaction of tongue and genitals. Shishnodara. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a very beautiful verse. Jivhera lalase iti utidhai Shishnodara parayana Krishna nahi paye. So Jivhera lalase, one is, afflicted by the vibrating tongue, Jivhera lalasa. Iti utidhai, one is running here and there. Shishnodara parayana. One who is parayana to tongue and the satisfaction of the lower organs, Krishna nahi paye. Such a person will not get Krishna. Srila Prabhupada says the materialistic life means eat, drink, be merry, and enjoy one's life. That is material life. And that's what, if you go, at least in India, still there is struggle for existence. If you go to European countries and, a place like Amsterdam and, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, where basic needs of life are taken care, people are simply stooped in enjoyment, right? Simply want to enjoy life. That's it. What is the goal of your life? Enjoyment. Very hedonistic life. This life is called as hedonistic life, where the goal of life is enjoyment. And this is not a very right goal to pursue, right? So further Prabhupada says, and therefore a devotee who has fortunately come on the path of Krishna consciousness has to be very careful in associating with such people, right? In fact, to associate with such materialistic men is to commit purposeful suicide in the human form of life, because one will very easily give up an inclination towards spiritual activities, right? Therefore, in one of the lecture, one sannyasi Maharaj, he very beautifully explains this. He says, just like lavamatra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hai, lavamatra sadhu sangha is, extremely potent in the association of the great saintly person. Similarly, the lavamatra such a person's sangha can be extremely harmful, right? One should not think that, oh, I'm a senior devotee, I'm, this and that and everything else, and I can handle. We may not be able to handle. Their conviction in Maya, eat, drink, sleep, and, marry, enjoy life, it may be far greater than our fumbling conviction in Krishna consciousness, right? And therefore, Mahaprabhu warns that one should avoid such association. Niskinchanasya bhagavan bhajanonmukhasya param param jigimishor bhavasagarasya sandarshanam athamitor atayochitamsha ha hanta hanta vishabhakshanatopi asadhu. Such a association is more deadlier than vishabhakshanatopi. It is more deadlier than drinking poison willingly. Why this is? Because such association can influence our desires. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. Such association can change the purpose in our life. Such association can completely outdo our years of devotional activities. Right? And therefore, one should be very careful in one's association. Srila Prabhupada says further, therefore, one has to give up the undesirable association and should always mix with saintly person. What this means? This doesn't mean walling out. Okay, it is not that we create a wall between people and ourselves. Association means what we share, the shared happiness, distress, and values is called as association. Shared happiness, distress, values, right? And goals in one's life, like that. That is called as association. Simply shaking hand with somebody, simply sitting with somebody on our office desk doesn't make that we are associating with them. Association means basically it is influence, right? What we are allowing ourselves to influence with, that is called as associations. What is association? Association means influence. This is very important. Association doesn't mean that Prabhuji, in the canteen, I am eating my dabba, he is eating his dabba, and are we associating? May not be your associating, right? Because association means influence. This is very important. And therefore, Prabhupada says, and therefore, sometimes, now Prabhupada writes another thing now, sometimes somebody may be a very religious man. And, Prabhupada writes here, he may be Hindu, Muslim, or Christian. They may look very religious, but uh, while they are very being religious, they may be extremely materialistic. And we have to be aware of such association as well. Like, sometimes, like, I had these two experiences. Once I was traveling, and I was traveling in Europe from one place to another. I just don't remember from where to where. I was visiting our Sankarshan Leela Prabhu from Belgium to some place. And suddenly, in that small aeroplane, I had a Marathi man sitting next to me, and I felt so happy. I felt like wow, And he was like, and he was such a religious person. He had all, the all dhaga around, the red dhaga in his right hand. He had the big tattoo of Om, and looking very religious personality and everything else. And I was also very excited. I said, wow, we just exchanged some hi hello kind of thing. And then the air hostess arrived. She was looking for the order, and he gave a full course, the mm, pure non-vegetarian order with very harsh some vodka or some drinks like that. And I was shell shocked. I was thinking, oh my God, so now we are not going into that debate of that is a different topic altogether. But the point is, somebody looking very, very, the religious may not be always very spiritual. And we are not here to judge people. We are not here to judge people. Yesterday, I was with Yogeshwar Gopal Prabhu and Jagannath Dham Prabhu, and they had invited a couple of people, and one person was looking so religious, and he was religious, not looking religious. Had a big ring, finger ring, anguti of written Om on that. Had this lot of mala wearing, kanthi mala. He had a big kanthi, and lot of those threads were there. So many rakhis were around and everything. And then this Prabhuji was telling me, Prabhuji, yesterday only evening he was cracking such non-veg jokes. So one has to be very careful in with whom we are associating with. This is very important. So Prabhupada, see how beautifully Prabhupada warns us. Prabhupada says otherwise. But if we associate with such persons, then he is sure to glide down to the darkest region of hell. The example is young Ajamil. Later we'll come to the 6th canto where Ajamil was extremely religious, but he was not somehow devoted. And he lacked that devotional protection from Lord Balaram, Nityanand Prabhu, and the Guru Parampara and the Supreme Lord Krishna, ultimately the protection coming from. And he simply, with one twist here and there, and he simply glide down to, the very dark path towards the hell. And therefore, one has to be very careful of one's association. Text 33. Satyam shaucham daya maunam buddhir Shri hi yashakshama shamodamo bhagascheti yat sangat yati sankshayam. Now the effect of such a association. Translation.
Translation: He becomes devoid of truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, gravity, spiritual intelligence, shyness, austerity, fame, forgiveness, control of the mind, control of the senses, fortune, and all such opportunities. Purport: Those who are too addicted to sensual life cannot understand the purpose of the absolute truth, nor can they be clean in their habits, not to mention showing mercy to others. They cannot remain grave, and they have no interest in the ultimate goal of life. The ultimate goal of life is Krishna or Vishnu, but those who are addicted to sensual life cannot understand that their ultimate interest in Krishna consciousness. Such people have no sense of decency, and even in public streets or public parks, they embrace each other just like cats and dogs and pass it off in the name of lovemaking. Such unfortunate creatures can never become materially prosperous. Behavior like that of cats and dogs keeps them in the position of cats and dogs. They cannot improve any material condition, not to speak of becoming famous. Such foolish persons may even make a show of so-called yoga, but they are unable to control the senses and mind, which is the real purpose of yoga practice. Such people can have no opulence in their lives. In a word, they are very unfortunate. Hare Krishna.
He becomes devoid of all these great qualities. Right. This is the effect of such a association. This is the effect of bad association. What are the qualities? Truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, gravity, spiritual intelligence, shyness, austerity, fame, forgiveness, control of mind, control of senses, fortune, and all such opportunities. He becomes devoid of by wrong association. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains a person too attached, addicted to the sensual life becomes very degraded very soon. In Sanskrit, there is a verse which is called as Kamaturanam na bhayam na lajja. Right? Na bhayam. Kamaturanam na bhayam na lajja. So it is called as there is no bhaya and neither no lajja. And this is kama means any kama for this. It could be especially 3 gates to hell, right? One may be extremely lusty, one may be extremely greedy, or one may be extremely angry. So lust, anger, and greed, all 3 comes under the category of, kama, one after another. So na bhayam, na lajja. And they will give up their austerity, their shyness, their fame, the forgiveness, the qualities that they have. And what is the greater testimonial to this than simply just open the newspaper and look at the news, what's happening around. You will find one to one for each one of this. Right here it is. And all such opportunities. Prabhupada says, such a person loses his gravity, has no interest in the ultimate goal of life. We have, just open the newspaper and you will read these news like, something like 89-year-old man duped by some 22-year-old girl for some 2.8 crore rupees and this and that. Recently, the number was 9 crore. This is just 2 days back in Pune. The person was like in his 90s, literally, was duped for 9 crore because he visited some Tinder or some, I don't know what this website he visited, some, those kind of apps. And somebody just looted some 4 profiles. They portrayed themselves as whatever it is, the ladies and everything, and they systematically looted him. In next 1 year's time, he was robbed off for 9 crores. So this is, and ultimately he will lose the interest in Krishna consciousness. He will lose all sense of decency and will display love life publicly. So now displaying love life publicly, Vaishnava etiquette says something different. Vaishnava etiquette means one should not display there should not be a public display of love. This is very important. Okay, again here, according to time, place, circumstances, and take whatever we are discussing with a pinch of salt, because circumstantially things may be slightly different, generationally things may be slightly different, but the general understanding of Vaishnav Sadachar is that one should not make a public display of love even to one kids, right? It is not that you are taking your child to temple and taking too much of kissing your child, around the temple or in this on the street or this or that. What to speak of then, you know, the fiancé, wife, and everything else. So the public display of emotions is has to be taken very well. Otherwise, because whenever we are emotional, we are vulnerable. That's very important thing. Emotional means you are vulnerable, and therefore publicly there has to be a gravity, and this is what the Vaishnav etiquette manual conveys. And please apply as per the time, place, circumstances where we are in, and whatever culture we are born and brought up. There are certain cultures in the Western countries where public display is considered to be very, very important. Like Turkey is the place where you generally don't just shake hand. You shake hand and you kiss each other. Then only you consider as you have really greeted somebody. So I mean, somebody hearing this recording from Turkestan later. But the point is, this is the Vaishnava etiquette. This is what the people are supposed to follow. Sometimes he may make a so-called show of yoga, but unable to control his mind and senses. And such a condition is very unfortunate condition. Text 34. So, very powerful verse. We'll recite it. Very strong verse, but these are very. Bhagavatam is very strong. Bhagavatam is not for. Bhagavatam is very, very strong literature. Okay, and this section is though very strong. We'll recite this one. Teshvashanteshu mudheshu
Teshvashanteshu mudeshu
Kanditatmasvasadushu
Kanditatma svasadushu
Sangam na kuryat socheshu
Sangam na kuryat chachocheshu
Yoshit krida mrugeshu cha.
Yoshit krida mrugeshu cha.
Translation.
One should not associate with a course-full who is bereft of the knowledge of self-realization and who is no more than a dancing dog in the hands of a woman. Purport: the restriction of association with such foolish persons is especially meant for those who are in the line of advancement in Krishna consciousness. Advancement in Krishna consciousness involves developing the qualities of truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, gravity, intelligence in spiritual knowledge, simplicity, material opulence, fame, forgiveness, and control of the mind and the senses. All these qualities are to be manifested with the progress of Krishna consciousness. But if one associates with a Shudra, a foolish person who is like a dancing dog in the hands of a woman, then he cannot make any progress. Lord Chaitanya has advised that any person who is engaged in Krishna consciousness and who desires to pass beyond material science must not associate himself with women or with persons interested in material enjoyment. For a person seeking advancement in Krishna consciousness, such association is more dangerous than suicide.
So here it is now. Teshu ashanteshu mureshu khanditasma svasadushu. One should not associate with a coarse fool who is bereft of self-realization, and he has no more than Yoshit Krida Mrugeshucha. Very strong words. No more than a dancing dog in the hands of a woman. Okay, and because the primarily Shukadeva Goswami is speaking to the stages of Nimisharanya, It is therefore the thrashed are the men here, not associate with such men who are the dancing dolls in the hands of a woman. And and Prabhupada just made it so all inclusive. It applies to woman as well, who is just a dancing doll in the hands of a man, right? So, and vice versa, both. I mean, why to beat only the men all the time? In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, restriction of association is there for advancement in Krishna consciousness. What is advancement in Krishna consciousness? Advancement in Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada says, involves developing in all those what is going to be deteriorated by the bad association which is mentioned in the previous verse, text 33. Look at the text 33 and look at the text 34 purport here. All these are same. So what is advancement in Krishna consciousness means we are advancing in truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, gravity, intelligence, spiritual knowledge, simplicity, material opulence, right? Understanding the material opulence in good way, fame, forgiveness, control of mind and senses. All this is called as advancement in Krishna consciousness. This is advancement in Krishna consciousness. But previous verse we have seen, by association with such a coarse fool who has become a dancing doll in the Krida, Yoshit Krida Murgeshucha, one will lose all these qualities. And therefore, Prabhupada says, Lord Chaitanya has very strongly warned that same, Nishkinjanasya Bhagavan Bhajanonmukhasya Param Jiginishor Bhavasagarasya Sandarshinam Athamithor Athayoshitamsya Ha Hanta Hanta Vishabhakshanatopi Asadu. Right? One should not associate with such women or men. So, I mean, it's vice versa. Or with the persons interested in excessive material enjoyment. This is very important. Sometimes we see some people who are good people, but they are, the kind of people who are like work hard, party harder. And, we may get attracted with their qualities. And, it is not very recommended because, eventually we may end up becoming like them by that kind of appreciation. For a person who is seeking advancement in Krishna consciousness, such association is more dangerous than vishabhakshanatopi, than committing suicide. Right? So strong sessions here. Please forgive me if I'm sounding out of my adhikar and out of my realization. But we have to discuss what Prabhupada has discussed in the mood of Srila Prabhupada. Okay, so what I'm speaking is, a big learning to myself only, first thing. So but the point is, this is how Srila Prabhupada warns through the purports. And the solution is very simple. What is the solution? Can somebody say just 2 words? What is the solution?
Chant and 4 regulative principles, Prabhuji.
There are too many words. 2 words.
Krishna consciousness.
Consciousness.
No. Yeah, Krishna consciousness is too big. Little close.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Association.
Krishna. Association is one word. One thing what I'm looking for here. What is the solution? Simple solution.
Association, Prabhu.
Association is solution to everything. In this case, Vaishnav.
Aparadh.
No.
Etiquettes.
Vaishnav etiquettes. Right. So the simple solution to all these problems is just following Vaishnav etiquettes very well. Right. And this can, following that can make us really, really independent. And once again, happy Independence Day to everyone. We'll conclude here and continue tomorrow. Shri Prabhupada, thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everybody.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I had a small question.
Yes, Mother.
Prabhuji, my question was, so much emphasis has been given on gratification for the sensual life and palatable dishes. So we have spoken a lot about sensual life gratification, how to avoid it, how to be careful. But what about palatable dishes, Prabhuji? Like, how do we understand its importance as we continue to practice, and like at what stage should we not care much about the taste for food? Because I see so many in Grahastha life, especially because y- you you just order and you get everything ready. So how do we understand how important the taste is or not? Because I see Govinda's restaurant and all, everybody likes to go there, eat palatable dishes. Would you please speak on this a little bit, please?
Tough question. Because today only in Pune Govinda we have special dish on which is called as Tiranga dish, and it is an unlimited dish, and all items will be like tricolored items. Basically, the, the sanctity of the house. Again, take me with the huge, the skepticism. This is what I come from, the particular background and culture. But still, the sanctity of the house depends on the sanctity of the kitchen. And one of the major reason what binds the house together is the mother cooking in the house or the lady cooking in the house. That is the greatest service that even greater than the husband earning money is greater service is the wife cooking inside the house. This is very, very important. In the name of women's liberation, in the name of this and that, this has, in India, now things have become so crazy. There are houses which are like no kitchen house, they call it. You just order anything on Swiggy, Zomato, and it's there. And it's really very, very shocking. Apart from the health, the concerns, which are huge concerns, they will use the same. Most of the things nowadays are used in palm oil in India, at least. Okay, India, the conditions are very bad. Like in Pune is famous for this, or Lakshminarayan Chivda, and these are like very, very Puneri items. Okay, and if you see, go to their back cover and you see the oil, most of the oil is palm oil, because market has become so competitive, so many people there inside. So first is there is a huge concern about ingredients from the health perspective. Second thing is, all that sugar, maida, and the calories that we are consuming, and the lesser kind of a, the work that we have is more and more the IT kind of a work where there is a less physical exertion. It is leading to huge problems, especially obesity and, other related problems. Right. Now, even keeping this aside, these are not to be kept aside. Even keeping this aside, the love and affection that mother or a wife, or a sister, that, or sometimes even husband is cooking, whatever it is, the ghar ka admi cooking cannot be there in whatever kind of the food that we are eating, and that includes Govinda. And please forgive me for that, because if anybody from Govinda hearing this, they will come after me. General understanding is Govinda is for outsiders. Now, don't misquote me. I don't want to be. These are Radhesham Prabhu's words, and we had a huge meeting on Govinda, and we are talking. After a meeting, because most some of the people working in Govinda, they are not like, we had this idea, right? One who is cooking, his consciousness will enter and will say that Prabhuji, look at this person, he's a muchadwala person, and he himself is eating onion, garlic, and this and that, and he is cooking, and and it became such a heated argument that finally our management told us, Ki, who told you Govinda is for you? Govinda is for outsiders. That they will have some spiritual experience and some, then it will also generate some money for ISKCON also. And it was a shocking revelation. Okay. So again, not to misquote this, okay, we have very high regards to Govinda. But simply eating in Govinda is not a part of, cannot be a part of our devotional activity. Things are different at different places. Again, let's not generalize it. Ingredients problem may not be so much there outside of India, especially you are in Australia, or somebody is in the Western countries, developed world kind of a thing. Ingredients may not be the case, and many of the places their devotee themselves are cooking, and and I mean, all respects to them, and all glories to them, all glories to prasadam that they are cooking. Still, it is not substitute to the mother's love that comes through the home cooked food, prasadam. This is far different. One of the reason why the family system entirely collapsed in USA and to great extent in Europe is because the ladies stopped cooking in the house. And you will be shocked by this. One of the reason why entire family system came crumbling down is because ladies stopped cooking in the house. And there's, countries are witness to this. Of course, they will not accept it, but this is what the Vedic knowledge is all about. So what it means is that we should have some restriction on how frequently we visit Govinda, and we should count it. It is not that प्रभु जी उसमें क्या count करने का, अपना तो है, profit is going to temple. This is another the another very very weak arguments that we as a devotee give to ourselves. नहीं प्रभु जी, temple का तो profit हो रहा है ना. I mean, so we have to count how many times we are visiting Govinda or how many times we are eating outside, and all this is going to affect in one way or another. One is materially, another is spiritually. And I don't want to sound very critical. Anyway, Bhagavatam is strong. The section going on is very, very strong. Prabhupada purports are very strong on that. And, so please take it with huge pinch. You can take it as a ton of salt in that. But this is where we had our own discussions in Pune, in councillor board meetings. Very heated arguments for 3-4 hours. We had these discussions, and I'm just telling you the quintessence of our discussions. Okay. Jai
Prabhuji,
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yes.
Prabhuji, in this purport, Prabhupada is specifically talking about palatable dishes. So even as a housewife, I almost very frequently cook palatable dishes, although I try to keep them healthy. In fact, I do keep them healthy, but still palatable dishes are palatable dishes. So how do I understand that, how bad it is or things like that?
The general understanding is, that in the youth, overeating or palatable dishes is a good mistake to make, right? So if you're conscious of health and everything, then, all that you have to do is invite all of us for prasadam and we all will be happy to come there. So
Thank you, Prabhuji.
let's not overcomplicate, right?
Okay,
So
Prabhuji.
yeah, simple. I mean, it also has to be, everything also has to be age appropriate, right? So when somebody cannot say that from tomorrow you will get only bhakri and pitla, and something like that. So it has to be age appropriate, right? It has to be time, place, circumstances play a huge role in everything. So, and naturally, after eating so many palatable dishes later, somebody will say, nahi, nahi, mujhe sirf khichdi chahiye, kind of a thing. So we should not overcomplicate the things. We should just be
Yes.
aware of the basic principle and move on in the life, right?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, don't pranam,
Thank
Prabhuji.
you,
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.